All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. This is Mark. Hold on, let me just adjust something here. Thanks for joining me for another Greenbridge Investing market analysis. So in today's session, I want to talk about Bitcoin real quick because of all this price action we're seeing here. And then of course, we're going to get into some of those electric vehicle stocks because yeah, a lot of interesting stuff going on there as well. I mean, they're basically like, cannabis was 2 years ago. The same story, except they just, they make cars instead of pot. Okay, anyway, so let's get into it. I'm like a little behind schedule here. So I don't want to spend, a lot of time on nothing. Let's do it. So this is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Now, hey everyone, nice to see you. Kev, HS, nice to see you. Jay, Sean, good. Thanks for joining me. All right, now, first things first, let's take a look here at the economic calendar. Again, I'm not going to spend much time on this, but we always should take a look at this, right? We should always make a habit to take a look at the beginning of the week. Today's Monday. And so a couple of things. Let's get to where we are now. All these things came out earlier. RBA rate statement, right? That was 10. Oh, that's actually, no, that's tonight. I'm sorry. That's tonight. The Bank of Australia interest rate decision. That can affect things somewhat if you're in those pairs. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Swiss GDP, Europe Consumer Price Index. This is all tomorrow, early, 5 a.m. Eastern time. Wouldn't worry about this. It looks like the euro is trying to sell off again, so that's interesting. Maybe that has something to do with President Lagarde's speech. I don't know. Hey, pal. So let's see. Now, tomorrow we have for the U.S. ISM manufacturing. That's not a big deal. Now, Fed Chair Powell testifies at 10 a.m. That can change things if Powell says something unusual. You know how that goes. It's like sort of like the same idea as an FOMC meeting in terms of how we view it, as price action. So there could be an expansion, there could be nothing. All right. So it's good to know that this person is speaking at this time. Then President Lagarde again at 12 p.m. I don't know what, these people are paper pushers. I don't understand. Anyway, RBA Governor Lowe's speech. Okay, that's at 7 p.m. tomorrow. So they can have some effect on some Forex pairs, like the Aussie dollar. All right, fine. But we don't have any positions in that, so I'm not going to worry about any of those numbers. Now, on 12/2, which is what, Thursday, ADP employment change. This can have somewhat an effect, possibly. Where will you see that effect, by the way? In the futures, in the bonds, perhaps. But most of the time, these are non-events. Let me see here. Then we have 12/3 ISM manufacturing PI. Who cares? No one cares. And then Canadian unemployment rate. No one cares. Okay. We don't have any Canadian pairs on anyway. It doesn't matter. This is the most important report of the week. Non-farm payrolls on 12/4. That's Friday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. That is typically a high potential release, item. If there are any surprises in there, things that people don't expect, it can affect the dollar in a major way, and that can throw there can be all kinds of randomness all over the place, across Forex, across gold, across stocks. So just keep an eye on it. Be aware that it's coming out. In recent times, this has, they've been reporting good numbers, and I guess the market's generally been having positive reactions, but the way this number used to work back in the day was you'd see like a huge move like in an instant. You don't really see that anymore on this. So just be aware that it's coming out and, observe the price action after it comes out. I don't look at these numbers, or I don't look at the calendar to find trade ideas. Okay, if you're new, you're not sure why I look at that calendar. I'm just looking to see what potential catalysts can come out to change things. I don't have any opinions as far as which way they will change. Okay. So with that being said, let's get into Bitcoin first. Again, if you have any questions or if there are any stocks or markets you'd like to see, please share them in the chat now. I see Kev has ZVO in there, so we'll take a look at that. Anyone else? Jay, we're definitely going to take a look at Nikola and some of the electric vehicle stocks. Anyone else, if you have any stocks or markets you'd like to see, please share them now. So once I complete this, then we can get into what you want to see. All right, and let me see how I'm doing with time. Okay, so here's the thing. I just want to mention this real quick. If you're new to Greenbridge Investing, please make sure to check out greenbridgeinvesting.com. Register for the YouTube channel if you can. Also, like the video if you like it, because it gives me good feedback, lets me know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, and how I can improve these things. Plus, check out our 7-day free trial. We do have a signal service, a swing trade signal service by text, by email. We have portfolio management ideas. We've been very active in stocks over the recent month, but not as active in Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin's been kind of nutty, right? And there's good reason for that, which we'll talk about here in a moment. But please make sure you check out our 7-day free trial. And we also have a chat room, by the way, where Andrew's sharing stuff in there all day, and I'm putting some stuff in there, and we're updating our ideas. The 7-day free trial is valuable because this week, we're now going into December, and today's Cyber Monday, right? So our current prices are still low. This is your chance to lock them in if you like it, because after this week, we're going to change to the higher prices. I went over that in my webinar yesterday. Okay, if you missed the webinar, if you registered for it, it should be in your email. You should have gotten an email with a link to the replay of the webinar. If not, check your spam folder. And if it's not there, then I am going to put it in our webinar library soon, so you can check it out there as well if you're a free member. All right, enough of that. Let's get into Bitcoin. So first things first, on, what was it? I think it was Friday or Saturday, we had this inside bar, okay? Now, I saw it, but I'm not going to call it. Now, the thing is, we had a much more attractive level. The low of that inside bar was 16,435. Now, I've been writing about the 16Ks, the 15Ks, right? That's where we want to see the pullback, and it went there, and it bounced off of it right away. So why didn't we call that? Well, these type of bounces are very suspect. Okay, this one looks great after the fact. Like, oh yeah, you should have called it. But the thing is, these are not very high probability. All right, a lot of times this is the B leg, and this very well may still be the B leg. Okay, that's an Elliott wave term where this thing fakes out. So I didn't want to take the risk. I want to point out, and I mentioned this in my webinar yesterday as well, and in my TradingView article, if we had taken these recent buy signals, the most recent 2 buy signals on Bitcoin, they most likely would have stopped out, okay, with the swing trade strategy that we employ. How many people got caught in that? How many people, even worse, got short, and now they're caught on that side, okay? We don't short Bitcoin. So the thing is, what do we do now with something like this, okay? Do you buy this thing now? We missed the buy signal. I wasn't going to take it anyway. We have the 18,500 inflection point that's still in play. All right, we didn't sell off exactly off the inflection point, but typically these levels are not precise to begin with. It's the general area that you have to be careful of, not the exact level. All right, so we still have that area in play. Secondly, we have this. You can see this blue box up here. That's the reversal zone, okay? There's a good chance that selling activity is overwhelming, or this is a vulnerable spot. It's basically a place for the failed breakout to occur, okay? And that can go as high as what, 2,200 area? It can go that high and still fake out. Now, we saw it tried to fake out earlier today, right? You see that sort of a tail there, candle tail. But this is a pretty strong candle, and it looks like we're going to close. We have a few hours before this thing closes. Looks like it's going to close pretty strong. So that's a good sign if you're long. But if you're not long, this is a very risky area. So here's the thing. If you're long and a sell signal shows up, and when I say long, I'm talking about swing trades. I'm not talking about an investment or inventory. We carry inventory. We don't trim out of that constantly, as you know. We sold some at 15K or whatever, and we've been sitting in it since. That's not something we actively trim, right? That's not an active trading strategy. Swing trading, though, is active, much more active, and requires a lot more detail and a lot more patience as well. So in this situation, if you have a short-term trade on, right? This is a place to be looking to at least lock in profits. Um, and this is not a place to add more risk. Definitely not. Now, you're going to get a lot of breakout traders that get sucked into this. If some haven't gotten sucked in yet, because it's typically what occurs here. That's why we have a candle wick. You don't want to be one of those, okay? Those traders that get sucked in, if this thing does not break out, then all those buyers that were lured are going to sell. Now, someone mentioned in the chat room earlier, was it earlier? Maybe it was yesterday, mentioned, I think it was Powell mentioned it, that Kramer was talking about, was he talking about Bitcoin or something? Basically now getting all the, the Coinbase retail traders all excited, or the Robinhood traders excited. That's the worst thing in the world if you're buying with them, because all those that are buying now are going to be the ones who sell. Okay, that's a typical market process. That's nothing new. That's what goes on. That's the stuff you can't see, right? That's the order flow you cannot see. So all these people that are buying here, if this thing doesn't go, they're all going to want to get out at the same time. That's what pulls this thing back. And then, I got faked out. This is the highest risk area to be getting involved, okay? So that's what I'm looking at. I'm waiting for a pullback. Where can we pull back to? I would like to see double bottom around that 16K area, maybe the high 16s, possibly low 17s. I would like to see that. Maybe a failed low. That would be even more ideal if it can deliver that, because that would be typical of a wave 4 consolidation, right? That's usually what wave 4s look like. This leg right here, if this is a failure leg, we're in a wave 4. Okay, and that could be 3 legs. Again, I'm mentioning some Elliott wave terms. I don't need to have it labeled on my chart. And if that's what we're getting, which would be C of wave 4, that's where I'd be looking to get long at the bottom, something like that. That's where I'm looking to send out the swing trade if the market will deliver it. If the market does not deliver that scenario, then I'm going to have to adjust. Perhaps we get a higher low or something. I'd feel much more comfortable getting a higher low after this higher low was put in place, okay? So I know that, hey, you know what? The selling activity is not strong enough to take out that low. At least I know that, and I can measure risk. So that's Bitcoin. Any questions about Bitcoin real quick? Let me just look at the chat here. Right, so Sean, yeah, Kramer said BTC, a bunch of room, has always been a believer. Right, you see that? So, I mean, that's... when someone like that comes out, right, mainstream news, and they start pushing something, it's usually you're near a top. Okay, they're never calling it at the bottom. They're always calling it near tops, and they do that for their own reasons. It's not like they do that on purpose. They have an agenda to push. They have advertising to sell. That's just their function. That's just what they do. Kramer doesn't care if you make money or not. His show is not going to be affected if you lose money. It doesn't matter. He's not responsible for the buttons that you push. Okay, but he needs to sell advertising though. So that's something to keep in mind, and that goes for any type of mainstream news, or even some of these fake gurus that you have like on TradingView and stuff. They typically do the same thing. They all call for Bitcoin long at the same time. They all call for a short at the same time. And that's the herd mentality, in progress. Okay, anyway, so any questions about Bitcoin, let me know. And so we can start moving on to some of these electronic vehicle stocks. I want to cover those. And then I want to talk about gold too, because that's where there's some opportunity right now. You have to look at hated markets, not markets that are pushing highs. All right, so let's take a look at that real quick. Let's go to Nicola, because I saw we had some questions in the chat room earlier from Nicola. Obviously, there was some negative news on this thing today. I guess they're no longer partnered with GM. And, I mean, this thing that's a pretty nasty gap, right? And I know some people are caught in something like this. This is not good, technically, okay? This is not what it should be doing, especially when there's a gap in it like this, right? A news gap. So it would be better if this thing was at least going to try to close on its high, but it's not. This thing is closing on near its low. Not good. So if you're in it, I saw Michael said he was going to give it to like 17. I mean, I guess, okay, if that's your plan. First thing is you want to have a plan. That's the first thing. You must have a plan. Stick to your plan, whatever the plan is. Secondly, at this point, this is an ugly close. I would anticipate momentum to continue lower into that, into this low, what is that, 1750 area support. I mean, at this point, if it's going to close like this, that's what I would anticipate. Now, it's possible that tomorrow we see something like, it tries to push lower and then you get the pin bar. It's possible. So is it a bad idea to try to give it that chance? No, it's not a bad idea. But like as Jay pointed out, these things are highly speculative, and I'm not surprised that some news comes out of nowhere that no one was expecting, right? And it knocks the wind out of the stock. This is typical of a speculative stock, right? Just like, I mean, look at Jumia, right? JMI, which is not an electronic vehicle stock, but I mean, look, this thing pulled back pretty nicely considering what it was doing. Just out of nowhere, there's a little gap in there, right? Pulled back $4 because it was just out of control, right? That's typical herd mentality. Typical herd mentality. So that's why we always discourage from chasing those crazy stocks. You want to try to get in when no one likes them. You want to try to distribute some of that risk when you get this situation while everyone's jumping into it. And hopefully, you've locked something in, right, before it does something like this. There's no way you're going to see this coming. Chart never said, chart's not going to tell you that this is coming. The news comes out of nowhere. That's why managing risk is the effective behavior, not reading a chart, okay? So the charts are just sort of a guide that help us assign probabilities and measure risk, or assign risk. But once the trade is in play, it's really about managing the risk based on the new information that comes in, right? So like I said, this is not good. Let's take a look at some of the other electric vehicle stocks, like Workhorse. How's Workhorse doing? This thing has been sort of pulling back. Can't do anything with this. Let them pull back. What's another one? FUV. This one I've been watching carefully because I like the price action. FUV. Nice pin bar today. Look at this. This actually could be a swing trade long for tomorrow, depending on if there's any more, surprises, then the sector may start to be transitioning from in favor to not so in favor, right? If that occurs, then these things are going to not do so great, right? But based on the chart alone, right? Never mind that stuff, because again, we don't know. Based on the chart, this is a nice high or low situation, and you have a pin bar, right? So testing this high is very possible. Now, obviously, Tesla is the leader in this. Tesla pulled back as well today, right? 17 points. Tesla is going to be now part of the S&P 500. That, I believe that change is taking place tomorrow. DJ had mentioned in the chat yesterday. So that's actually a pretty important thing, because that means fund managers now are going to have to manage a certain portion of Tesla in their funds to match the S&P 500, right? They're trying to, whatever, that whole S&P 500 thing. So now Tesla's going to be part of that process, which also means Tesla's going to act more like a market stock. It's going to do less of doing its own thing like it's been doing for a while, and it's going to act more like Microsoft. I mean, that's what we're going to have to anticipate as far as its behavior in the future. So just something to keep in mind there. Once this thing completes its pullback, perhaps it pulls back to the high part of that range. Perhaps there'll be a new opportunity in these other vehicle stocks. So, going back to FUV, even though this is a nice setup developing, it may be a little early if we're going to use Tesla as a reference point for the leader, being a leader. Okay, so that's FUV. Now, there's a couple other ones. Clean Spark, CLSK. This is not really, there's nothing to do here, right? In the middle of the range, nothing going on there. And there's another one, NEO. Let's see here. Yeah, look, I mean, NEO, again, trying to pull back somewhat, but still nice, strong structure, right? Nice, strong chart. This is, I believe, Tesla's closest competitor. So, and they've made a lot of progress recently. This is probably a good candidate for a pullback, a good buy candidate once it completes its pullback. Okay, so anyway, just a couple of electronic vehicle stocks. So, Nikola had the bad news. Nikola looks like garbage. The sector's pulling back somewhat, but I don't see major, problems here from a technical standpoint. I just see a regular healthy pullback that could be beginning. Okay. When they start breaking trend supports and stuff like that, that's what's sign when serious money is flowing out of them. I don't see that yet. Now, to give you an idea of what that looks like, let's go to the pot stocks, because they've been stellar, right, recently. But when you go back to 2018, and I showed this example yesterday in my webinar, when we go back to the 2018 peak, right, when everyone was, pot stocks, they were saying pot stocks are going to be the new Bitcoin, blah, 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 right? This thing was at 58 or whatever. CGC was at 58. And as you can see, it spent the next, it was fooling around for the next few months, and eventually going into 2020, it worked its way to $7. The point is, when it breaks major supports like this, it broke a support, then serious money starts flowing out of it. That's when you want to start to avoid these things, okay? That was one situation back here. So when Neo and the rest of them start doing stuff like this, that's probably a time to begin, just put them on the avoid list until they start to get their health back. Same with this, like back in, what was this, March 2019, around there, broke that support. Once that support was taken out, party's over. Money's flowing out. Stay away from it, right? And you avoid yourself a lot of pain and a lot of trouble. Now, recent times it's coming back. But anyway, I didn't want to talk about the bullish aspect of these things. I'm not a big fan of these stocks. I just wanted to bring up the fact that these electronic vehicle stocks, like Tesla and all them, it's the same idea, okay? They're all hyped up and this and that, and they're the future, and there's going to be all this great stuff, and China's going to have all, no gas cars and blah, blah, blah. And it sounds amazing, and there's no Bitcoin left because PayPal's buying it all up and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, these things pull back anyway. So I don't get caught up in all that hype. You shouldn't. You should really be careful when it comes to making, when you're putting money on the line in the face of that hype. Okay, so these things are a fad basically for now. Let them pull back, and then we'll see what we can do. If they start breaking major supports, then we'll hold off, okay? So that's the story with electric vehicle stocks. Let me look at the chat here and see if we have any questions about those. All right. Okay, let's see. Okay, no problem. All right, I don't see any questions about them. All right, so let's talk about real quick. Before I get to your questions, I want to go into the gold stocks, the metal stocks. And by the way, if you're new to the Greenbridge channel here, please make sure you register for the channel. Also, if you like the video, please press the like button, because if I don't see likes, then I'm like, all right, no one's liking my videos, and either I'm doing something wrong, or I should stop doing them. So just let me know. It's important feedback for me. Okay. Also, check out our website, greenbridgeinvesting.com. We have signal service by text, by email, portfolio management ideas, and a chat room. We have a 7-day free trial. Check it out. We have low prices. Today's Cyber Monday. You can lock in our prices right now, because this week we're going to raise our prices. So here's your chance. And the prices, I went over in the webinar yesterday, the prices are going to be a lot higher than they are now. And we're not going to have a monthly membership. But for those that lock that stuff in, nothing changes. Okay. So let's now go to the gold area, okay, metals. Now, like I said before, metals are not popular right now. Look at gold. This is XAU, which is the CFD of gold, spot gold. Look at this. Now, talk about a conflict of fundamentals, right? I mean, they say, like I was saying yesterday, no, there's no gold in Fort Knox, all the conspiracy theories, we're printing money like crazy, inflation, blah, 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 whatever, right? And plus, gold itself is very expensive to mine. Okay, gold is it's not a common thing, it's rare, and all that other stuff, okay? And if you go to a dealer, a physical dealer, they're charging these ridiculous premiums because no one has any physical gold. Where is the physical gold? Meanwhile, gold is testing, what's today's low on gold? 1764. So if you got caught up in all that stuff, right? The Citibank report, gold is going to 3,000, blah, 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 all that nonsense, and you started buying it at the lows of this consolidation and it broke, now you get caught, okay? If you bought too much of it, or if you bought it with leverage, you can get margined out of your position, you can get leveraged out, all that other stuff. Not a good thing. But the point is this, is gold fundamentally, has anything really fundamentally changed about gold? No, not really. Okay, I don't see the Federal Reserve raising interest rates yet. Okay, I don't know. Maybe Chairman Powell will mention it tomorrow, but they haven't said anything like that yet. Raising interest rates is a key thing to strengthen the dollar. There's other things that they can do to strengthen the dollar, but until they start doing those things, right, the dollar should be technically weak, and that should be a positive for gold. Anyway, so all fundamentals aside, who cares about fundamentals? We trade technicals anyway, especially on the short term. But my point is, don't be confused. If you like to, you need reasons for things and you want to go to blogs and learn about, oh, why gold this, why gold that, it's not going to help you as far as the timing goes because, like I said, nothing has changed and gold is pushing lows. Breaking 1840 was a pretty significant support for gold. Okay, that was a trend support. The fact that we broke it is not exactly a good thing, but it doesn't mean it won't recover. So here's the thing. We don't have a buy signal yet in gold, but looks like today we're trying to get that little bullish pin bar going. So that's a start. It's the main thing to know is it's at an attractive level. Okay, that's the first thing. If we go back to May, okay, look at this, right? May, this area, as you can see on my chart, was an old resistance. You see this? Previous resistance becomes new support. And look, buyers are trying to step in. Now, we have a candle tail, but we don't have a green candle. We don't have, any reason to buy just yet. We do have an attractive location. So with that being said, we look at gold stocks. Gold stocks are on the radar, right? And I see Pal's asking a bunch of questions here about the gold stocks. Let's take a look at some of them, right? Stocks on the watch list. Well, first big one is GDX, which is the ETF of gold miners. Now look, this thing is trying to put in some buying price action there. Okay, that's a start. Perhaps it's ahead of gold there a bit. Now, again, it's at an attractive location. This is something we may call something like this as a long this week, okay, as a swing trade perhaps. Now, what do I want to see from this thing now? We're at this area of low. Is this really a failed low? No, it's a little too low to be a failed low, but it is trying to recover quickly. Okay, so there are some positives to this. I would probably want to see in this situation, I'd probably want to see like a little mini pullback, something to let me know that the next pullback's not going to go anywhere, and then look for that long. Okay, I may not get that perfect setup, and we may have to take a different type of entry on something like this to get involved. But this is one that's on the radar. Okay, these things, doing it with these stocks like the stock ETFs, there are a lot of advantages to these compared to buying the CFD. This you can control your size much easier, because you're doing shares of a stock. The leverage is not as steep, so you don't have to get caught in positions that are perhaps too big for your account. There's a lot of advantages. Some of these stocks, I think they pay dividends, which is also a good thing. I just don't know the ones specifically. So GDX is one on the list. NEM, Newmont Mining, this is another big one. These charts, by the way, are going to look similar, because they're all basically reacting to the same thing. Now, let's take a look at NEM for a moment, right? So this is another gold stock that should be on the radar. This is a failed low situation, okay? Double bottom, went slightly lower, and it's trying to recover quickly. That's good. On top of that, the broad structure, the entire broad structure, going back to June, is one broad higher low, okay? So NEM, that's a good one. Now, we've had positions in these things, and I believe some of these may even be in our portfolio, like CMCL, which is another one. But what I'm talking about here, I'm not talking about long-term investments here. I'm talking about swing trades. Swing trades are typically a couple of days to a couple of weeks long, maybe a month or two possibly, but we're not talking years. That's an important distinction. CMCL is another one, another smaller mining company. And now look, this one doesn't look so great. In fact, I think Michael was talking about this one as well, because it was he was taking some pain on this. Now, this price action, not as good looking as GDX or NEM and all that, but it doesn't mean it won't recover. If gold recovers, obviously this is going to be, at a much more attractive price. Now, again, this thing took out some of those supports, right? Let's take a look here. took out, what is that, 1581 or whatever, took that level out, not good. But it's trying, if it can put in a failed low right here, little double bottom situation, this formation that you can see right now, this is what I would like to see on GDX, but obviously not at a new low. I'd like to see this developing as a higher low. But in this case of CMCL, the structure or the change that you're looking for is a break of this high right here. Okay, 1520. That's a lower high. Stocks that are weak don't take out resistance levels. Now that's a minor resistance, but it's still a resistance. So if the stock is going to be weak, it really has no business going back up there. Okay, this thing is at 1452. So you're looking at a thing that has to push up $1 to really get this, to really qualify for being a long again. But I would wait for something like that. Stepping into this, something like this, although it might work because gold is at such an attractive level, it's still very risky. 1 minute, gold can look good. Like we thought gold was attractive at 1840. Well, it went to 1760, right? You can't step in front of these things. So this might be the bottom. This might not be the bottom. You're better off waiting for confirmation. It's a much lower risk thing to do. Doing this, like I said, stepping in front of it may work out, but you try doing that 10 times and you're going to get caught in those ones that, oh, this wasn't the bottom. It looked like the bottom momentarily, but it wasn't the bottom. And then you get caught, right? And that's what you want to avoid. You avoid that when the process required to avoid that situation is you're not going to get the bottom. It needs to bounce off the bottom. It needs to define the bottom first, and then it needs to take out a resistance. Okay? At that situation, you have confirmation in that scenario, and now you can measure risk, and you could be more confident that you're not the only one buying this thing, and you're not getting caught in one of those, oh, we faked you out, now it's really going to sell off, and now everyone that just bought it, like you were banging it out, and you're stuck in it, right? So you don't need to get the bottom to make money. You just need to be on the right side in terms of probability. Okay, if this thing's going to turn, there's plenty of potential in this thing, to push into those high 17s or maybe even to those low 20s once gold starts that next leg higher. Okay, so that's a couple of gold stocks. There's some other metal stocks too. There's one called FCM, I believe is the symbol. Let's see, FCM. See if I got that right. And then I'll get to your stocks. No, that's not it. What's Freeport? Is it F? I don't have the right one for that. Let me see. Freeport. That's it. Oh, FCXG. Oh, that's the futures though. I want the stock. Let's see. Hold on. Let me see if I can get that here. Oh, FCX. Got it. Got it. FCX. Okay. So look at this one. Right now, look at that stock. That's a good looking stock considering where gold is right now. So this, pull back on this thing, man, why is this thing doing this when gold is on its lows? That's interesting. But anyway, definitely one on the radar, okay? Definitely one to put on the radar. Needs to pull back though. You don't want to be buying this thing at these highs. But interesting, right? Interesting picture. If this thing could test that $20 area, that would probably be a good place for it. All right. So those are some gold stocks and metals stocks to keep an eye on. AG is another one. This is a silver, First Majestic Silver. This is a very slow mover. It takes a long time for this thing to do things, but if you can get this thing in the 950s, not a bad idea. As you can see, it went from like $4.50 to $14 from April to like what is that? The high is almost in August there. Whatever. So this thing takes time to move. Keep that in mind. All right, so let's get to the chat. Let's see what people want to talk about here. Okay, and again, if you have any questions, please let me know so I can go over what you want to see in the chat. Just type it in the chat and I will get to it. So ZVO, Kev talks about. Let's talk about ZVO. Let's see, what is that? Zovio. So Kev is saying that this one may be good for a long call, February 2021. For 50 cents. Now he's saying that the $5 strike for 50 cents. So this is one of those cheap option ideas he's talking about. Wow, $5 is very doable. I mean, it was just there a few weeks ago. Okay, and you can get February. So, well, let's see, we're in December now. So that's actually not that far away if you think about it. right? What is it, like 2 months before that becomes the front month or whatever? So February might be too tight, right? You may have to, something like this, since we're now in December, basically, you need to look as far out as like May or June now, right? You should be at 6 months, 5 to 6 months out for that type of idea. So it's going to be more than 50 cents. I'm willing to bet you'd be paying like maybe 80 cents for something like that, but it's not a bad idea. All right, you're buying a $5 strike call. If you can buy it for May, April, May, maybe June, if you can get that for less than $1, and this thing pops to 5, you know, in the next month or two, you'll be in good shape. So not a bad idea. I like it. I like that a lot. Let's see. As far as let's just look at the stock itself from a technical point of view here. We have, let's see where our inflection points are. You have a support there at 335. You have a resistance right here at 453. And, you know, you're just kind of fooling around inside there, trying to find a little bit of a higher low. All right, again, it's not a bad area, especially when you're doing an option. It doesn't you don't have to be so precise anyway. You just need to basically get filled at a good option price. Okay, and then this thing needs time to do its thing. Okay, so you don't have to be so precise as far as the setup and all that stuff when it comes to an option. Plus, a long option, your risk is defined. You know, as soon as you get in, once you buy that premium, the most that you pay, right? That's the max risk that you're facing if you hold on to it the whole time. You know, and that premium starts to melt on you. At some point, it will. So when this thing delivers a profit, you should take it, right? That's when you're long an option, but not a bad idea, Kev. I like it. Okay, what does OVO do, by the way? If you're still there, if you want to put that in the channel, that would be interesting to know. All right, so let's see what else we got here. All right, Sean. Okay, that's Kramer. We're talking about that. Okay, so POW, AUTL and MITK. Okay, let's take a look. AUTL. Okay. Oh, so this is one of those biopharma. All right, so look, I like the structure. Look at this. Look at the move that this thing had from April, right, to basically July. Look at this. So that's good. That means we're generally bullish. Okay, that's the structure that's in play right now. This thing has been trying to put in a higher low. Okay, with this long consolidation since August. And look, you have a failed low over here. Not bad. And this thing is $10.50. Not bad. Now, I can see from this sporadic price action, it's obviously a slow, you know, this thing doesn't have a lot of, it's not been very active recently, right? It's just been kind of popping around, not really going anywhere. Also, it's also a characteristic of low volume, okay? Those aren't necessarily bad things, but I do like the failed low. I do like where it is right now. This could be a good long as well. What's the risk and what's the reward though? Right, that's the next question that we have to answer. So you're looking at a low of 932, right? That was yesterday's low or Friday's low. So you figure $9 would probably be where your stop should be, something like that. And you closed today at what, $10.50? So a break of the Thursday high, 1057. So you figure 1075 should be the confirmation for the long. So if you buy it at 1075 and you're basically putting your stop at $9, you're looking at $1.75 of risk, right? $1.75. So does this thing have enough potential to justify almost $2 risk? Yeah, definitely. Let's look at some of these resistance levels here. So you're looking at 13, right? So right there, you pretty much have your risk covered, right? If you buy it at 1075, yeah, pretty much you're over 1-to-1. You're over 1-to-1 at that point. And if this thing tests the high at 16, right, you're doing even better, right? That's way over the 1.0 reward risk. So that makes sense. As far as targets go, yeah, this would be a good place to possibly put some targets. The 16 area, I'd put it slightly lower because, you know, the whole world is going to put their sell order there. So you want to put it lower to reduce risk before they do. Anyway, not bad. I like it. I like it as a long. So this may be a good trade of the week. I may have to steal this one. All right, I may steal this one. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if I can come up with something better. Okay, AUTL. I have to remember that because Powell, you come up with these things, and I'm like, which one was Powell talking about? And then I can't, and then I don't remember it, and then then it goes out the window. Okay, so AUTL. All right, MIT-K. So let's take a look at MIT-K. This one here. Let me see. How's this thing doing? I know Andrew talked about this one a while back. And let's see here. So I want to look at support and resistance levels. That's a support. We have a support right there. All right, so basically 11.25. Then we start to get some resistances around here. Up in this area, we have a resistance. And right now we're fooling around 11.75. So here's the thing. You have this bearish structure, this bearish momentum that took place. It's trying to bounce off the support. I'm not a big fan of this bearish structure, the recent bearish structure. Now, the broader structure is obviously bullish, okay? From the March low to, the October high or whatever. That's all bullish. That's good. So this is possibly a broad higher low or a consolidation where it'll develop into a higher low. I would look for the failed low here, okay? As opposed to something that we just looked at, AUTL. AUTL, all it needs to do is pop a little bit higher, right? And it's a long. Something like this, I don't, it's not the same. Can you see the difference? Let's compare the two. But for something like this, I would like to see the failed low. Let it test that support again, especially since we have a red candle today. I would like to see a test of that low and fail to go lower. That would be the long, okay? Let's just compare this to AUTL so that you can see, look at the difference. AUTL has the failed low in place. Right, so taking out a high is what it should be doing because it failed to go lower. You have to understand something, and this is something we talked about in my psychology webinar yesterday. The failed low, this is a process, this is a natural market process that's taking place here. Okay, shorts are getting short. People are banging out of their longs because it broke out, right? All the oscillators are telling everyone to go short, blah, blah, blah. But it's not really a short. So they get absorbed. Okay, and now all those shorts get stuck. And now all the new buyers come in. They realize that this thing's not going lower. And now you have a lot of buyers, right? And then the thing gets squeezed. That's a natural market process. And that's something that you could see in the actual order flow itself, which, we don't see the order flow on here. But when I talk about order flow, we're talking about the buy and sell orders that make this happen. That's the process that's taking place there. That's the process we're looking to capitalize on. And since we have a specific process that repeats itself like that, we can actually gauge, the probability of that thing working out. And we know that it's more in our favor. Okay, now compared to MIT-K, look at this. We don't have a failed low here. We have this attempt at a bounce, okay, and we have a red candle close today. We don't have that process here. We have some people that tried to jump in, and who knows what now. So I'd rather see the failed low, or at least a double bottom, or maybe a mini higher low, something to let me know that this thing is not going to make a lower high and make a lower low and continue this bearish momentum. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so I hope that you found that helpful. All right, good question. Let me see what else I have in the chat here. I'm going to remember AUTL. All right, so Jay, everyone, okay. HS, can you have a look at, let me see here. What is that? Can you have a look at, OMG? And Link, sure. OMG, yeah, I haven't looked at that one in a while. OMG USDT. Let's see. Okay. Well, I'm not that surprised to see that it's not really doing much. Now, so here's the thing with these, right? And I've mentioned this many times, as you know. Bitcoin is at its all-time highs. In fact, today it made an all-time high, right? Someone sent me a message, happy all-time high in Bitcoin. I was like, oh, I'm shorting it. I'm shorting it right now. But no, I don't short Bitcoin. I'm just joking. But when someone says that, it's like everyone is long. Okay, I'm sorry, everyone is long. So anyway, there's an important piece of information here. So Bitcoin is pushing all-time highs, and this thing is like, doing this. That's not good. Okay, that's relative weakness. There's no interest in this thing. That's what this is telling me. There's no capital flowing into OMG. Now, yeah, sure, you have some bullish candles in there. So obviously someone's stepping in, whatever. Maybe some people are hoping for the lagging effect or something, but I would not touch this thing. Okay, because the question is, what happens? Now, notice something. Bitcoin had that 3,000 point pullback the other day. Okay, look how sharp this thing pulled back. I mean, this thing had no problem doing this, no problem whatsoever, right? It just, everyone just jumped out of it. So if Bitcoin pulls back again, if we get a fake out at 20K, do you think this thing is going to, start going higher? It's probably going to go lower because it's relatively weak. Now, keep something in mind with these altcoins. For one, they should be following Bitcoin. If they're not, they're relatively weak. For two, a random piece of news can come out of nowhere and change this thing. A chart will not help you see that, okay? Just like back here in August, right? Some news drove this thing. And I remember, I don't know if you were listening to my stuff back then, but I put out a video on YouTube and I said, don't be buying it here. In fact, I said it was much lower. It was like over here somewhere. I said, don't be buying it here. And then it had this move and then, sucked everyone in. And since then, it's been garbage, okay? So again, stay away from it. I would stay with it. I don't like it at all. These things are highly speculative. They have no merit behind them. They're worse than pot stocks, okay? So even from a technical perspective, I assign less weight as far as technicals go because they don't trade on their own, okay? They need Bitcoin. So until they're on their own, buy signals and all that stuff are not very meaningful in these things. So that's OMG. What was the other one you wanted to see? Let me see here. OMG and Link. So Link USDT. Let's see if it gives me the right chart. That's really not the chart that I want to see. Can I get one more data on it? Link USD. Yeah, because they don't give me. I have to go to another exchange. Let's see. Binance? Well, Binance, there we go. Okay. So now Link has been trying. Okay, let's look at the structure. Let's compare the structure on Link. It's been trying, but again, relative to Bitcoin, right? So with Bitcoin pushing all-time highs, I expect Link to be up here. Okay, I expect it to be breaking. It should have broken this while Bitcoin was pushing its highs. That would be a sign of relative strength, okay? But instead, this thing's struggling, trying. Okay, as soon as Bitcoin pulls back 3,000 points, you get that. Okay, and now everyone's piling back in. Oh, I think maybe it's going to go up again. Okay, relative weakness, and it's not working on its own. I don't like it. Okay, this can easily fake out. This can easily turn into a lower high. Remember, Bitcoin is your lead. Okay, so now let's compare to something that is behaving properly relative to Bitcoin. Let's take a look at Litecoin. That looks almost exactly like Bitcoin, okay? Now, Bitcoin was pushing those highs, right, the other day or whatever, and Litecoin pushed a high. That's what you want to see. That's a relative high. That's relatively higher than it's been in a while. Those aren't all-time highs on Litecoin, but it's a relative high. And it's pretty significant, okay? It's back to what, near 100 or whatever. That's pretty significant. Now, even though Litecoin is pretty much behaving the way it should, like Bitcoin pulled back, Litecoin pulled back, Bitcoin recovered, Litecoin recovered, but Bitcoin pushed that high, like, today or whatever, earlier today. Litecoin has yet to do that. So that's, again, relative weakness. Not a good sign. I mean, it could be the lagging effect. I don't know. But the point is, when it comes to these, I'm looking for relative strength or relative weakness. At least Litecoin is pretty much in line. Okay, even though it's slightly weak, it's in line compared to something like OMG and something like Link. So remember, most of those altcoins, they really don't have much to offer. They're highly speculative. Now, XRP, here's another one that's been really getting a lot of attention. And it had this wild move during the Bitcoin pullback. Look, it pretty much got hammered too during the Bitcoin pullback. and it's recovered nicely. But again, if Bitcoin fakes out, where is this going to go? Right now you're at a lower high. This is a lower high. So I would be looking for that test of low again, or that pullback to maybe give you a double bottom or a consolidation type of formation. Remember, wave fours, if this is a wave four, this is likely a wave four, if this sharp move is wave three, which is typically what a sharp move looks like, and I'm not talking the broad wave, I'm talking about the more recent, the minor waves. If this is a wave three and this is a wave four, right? This wave four could be a couple of legs, and wave fours are not easy to trade. They're easy to spot, but they can be very difficult, especially if they turn into a consolidation or a compound consolidation. They don't just go straight into wave five, although it's possible. A lot of times they consolidate first, okay? They don't just go right into wave five just because it has a little pullback. So I would be very careful with those as far as, chasing after them now, thinking, oh, the next leg higher is going to come, okay? Don't let fear fool you into that kind of thing. Begin with level first. If it's not at a good level, who cares? Forget about it, right? That's the way I look at it. That's why I haven't called any Bitcoin trades. Not a good level, I don't care, right? I don't care if it goes to 20K. And look, I thought it was going to go to 20K today. I was looking at it earlier. I'm like, man, this is going to go to 20K, and I didn't call it. But what am I going to do? I don't like the location. I'm not going to call it. Right? I don't want to get people. What if I had called this trade back here? What if I had called this trade? Okay, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to miss out. My customers are going to miss out. I'm going to look bad. I'm going to call it here. Okay, long, 18,786. And then a couple of days go by, everyone gets stopped out. Okay, oh, you reacted. They'll say, well, no, I'm not going to react. I stick to my plan. I trade the rules, right? And I wait for the rules to line up. And there are going to be times when the rules are just not compatible with the market, and I'm not going to bend the rules. There are ways around it, but when it comes to swing trades and it comes to sending signals out to members, I'm not going to bend the rules. The way to bend the rules is really to go to smaller time frames and put on more of a day trade mentality, which we're not going to send out signals for day trades on Bitcoin. There's just too much going on for that, and we won't be able to keep track of it, of the changes fast enough. Okay. So anyway, we always have to keep risk first. We have to manage risk first, and we also have to be mindful of our members, especially since many of them are new at this, and they may not be as fast to see things or adjust things properly, or they may react, to the wrong information. Okay, so we always have to be mindful of that. Okay, so good question. I think I answered that. Let me see, how am I doing with time here? Because I like to talk too much. Yesterday, Michael was laughing in the chat room because I said, okay, I'm only going to do an hour for my webinar today. Only an hour. And, an hour and 52 minutes after, I'm like, 2 hours. I talk too much. I like to talk. What am I going to do? Okay, HS. Okay, so I looked at that. So what about Barrick Gold? Seems bullish. Okay, Powell, let's take a look. I believe the symbol for Barrick Gold is GOLD. Is that right? Let me see. Let me go to stocks here. I believe that's Barrick Gold Corporation. Yeah, Barrick Gold. So here is GOLD. So this looks, I think, yeah, Barrick Gold. This looks similar to GDX. Obviously, their charts look similar. Nice price action. I like that. The thing is, again, we're facing this bearish momentum, right? I like the location. This is a tough spot. Now you definitely can argue that you have this double bottom. I mean, look at that. That dates back to June. Okay, 22, basically 22 even is double bottom, and I mean, look at today's low, right? 22.37. So not bad. The question is, what's the risk on something like this? I mean, I would wait. For obviously the market's closed. So if we could take out this high tomorrow, what is the high there? 23.21. So you give it some room, like maybe 23.50. Give it a little room, right? Let it prove itself a bit, because your stop is going to have to be around 22.25 or even 22 even, maybe even 21.75. Give it some room, okay? Because really, if it's going to be strong, it has no business going to 21.75. But what a great location. definitely this should be on the list. Definitely. I like this. I like this. I like this level a lot, and I like the price action that's occurring there. Look at the little pin bar from Friday. Look at that. So, and it took out that high. So technically this is a buy signal. Okay, when it took out that 2271. So you could say, you can argue that there's a buy signal in play when you really zoom up on and look at this. But you give it a little room tomorrow. Okay, but this is definitely, I may call this one too. I may send this one. This may be the trade of the week. I don't know, pal. Maybe you should just call our trades of the week. Okay, I got AUTL and now maybe Barrick Gold. I like it. Okay, so we'll see on that one. But, you know, the setup is there. Now, the question, if the risk is 2175, if you look at your reward potential, it makes sense. Okay, I mean, look, you have a level right here. That was at 25.5. That's your next resistance. So that's a reasonable target. That's a reasonable place for this thing to go. If you're risking $2 or whatever, and this thing runs, right, the $2, great. You're at 1-to-1, perfect, right? Then you have a gap over here that this thing is likely to at least fill part of that. So you're looking at what, the 27s, 28s. So plenty of potential in that. And that's, we're not even talking about gold making new highs. We're talking about just gold having a recovery leg. Okay. So thanks for bringing that up. All right, Alice, where are the inflection points for, hold on, let me get your question here, Alice. Where are the inflection points for starting cues? Looking to start investing for long term for my kid. Oh, okay. Would add once or twice per year. Oh, that's a good question. All right, so now you're talking long term, right? Which is not swing trading. Let's take a look at the cues, right? The stock ETF. Well, certainly not at these levels. Okay, I would just leave it alone here because yeah, it looks great, but very vulnerable, as you know. Now the QQQ itself is not a great chart to judge that from, but the location, as we talked about in the webinar yesterday, is not a good location. So to answer your question, Alice, where would you start, you know, building the position in a situation like that, especially if it's long term, okay, and it's for your kid? You can, and risk is not, you're going to manage risk in a different way, right? You're not going to use stops. You're going to use position sizing to manage your risk. Here's what you can do. You can put orders below the market for small size. Let's say that you're saying you want to add, what you're saying, looking to start, would add once or twice per year. Okay. So if you're going to do that, then this is an inflection point right here, right? This low right there, which is 268. What is that? Yeah, 268 area. That would be one place. So basically every inflection point, right? 260, but that's kind of close. So if you have two levels that are close like this, put it in the middle, okay? The average, so 263, something like that, 263.5. That might be one good long-term inflection point. If that level is broken, then you don't want to just start piling in or putting on more. You want to wait for the next point, and that would be here, the March high. Now that would be hard to believe that this thing could pull all the way back to 236, the 236s, but that's a major inflection point. That's one of those areas where the market's getting really beat up, and if you turn on the mainstream news, they're going to say the market's going to zero, stocks are horrible. They're not making their earnings anymore. CEOs are all criminals, all this other exaggerated nonsense, right? That's usually what's going on in this type of situation. It's not like, oh yeah, look, the NASDAQ's at a great level, we should all be buying it. No, they're not saying that. So that would be another major inflection point. Another one would be right around here somewhere. Actually, no, that's the same one. That's the 260 area. So you have a couple to choose from here, okay, on the pullback. The mistake you don't want to make, or one thing to consider, Alice, I shouldn't say mistake, but if you want to start buying it earlier, what you should have is like almost like a spectrum of weighting, weighting as in like weight, as in carrying a weight as far as size. So meaning the more you pull back, the more you buy, right? So you start out, it starts out in the, let's say it starts to pull back and you want to buy some in the middle of the range. You buy the least amount. Let's say you're talking about 100 share lots, right? You want to buy, your goal is to buy, 500 shares for your kid. You start out with 25 shares, maybe 10 shares at such an area. It pulls back to 268. Now perhaps you buy 20 shares. Okay, pulls back to, starts going lower, maybe into the 240s, 250s, something like that. Perhaps you add 30 shares, and if it does something like that's where you add, the lower it goes, the more you add. Okay, but there has to come a point, like if the market just keeps going and going and going and going, you don't want to keep putting on more and more and more and more, because that could also become problematic. So just keep that in mind. You should have a range of prices where you say, okay, I'm going to start, buying at this area, and I'm going to, put all my orders, distribute my orders into this area, and that's it. If it goes lower than that, then I'm not going to add anymore until stability returns. That'll protect you, okay, from getting too big. Because if there is a real major correction, then you'll be like, I'm stuck at this lousy prices, and I got too much of it, and I'm getting margined out. You have to be careful of that. Okay, it's a very common mistake. So I hope I answered the question there. Again, that's very long-term thinking that has nothing to do with swing trades. Okay, completely different strategy. People mix the two up often, and they say, hey, where do you put your stop? There's really no stop for a long term like that. You have to manage your risk with size. Okay, and also if you have 100 shares, obviously options can help you with that once you go over 100 shares, because now you could buy a put to protect yourself, you could sell a call, you could do stuff like that as well. Okay, you can also hedge something like with the Qs. If you have problems, you can hedge, as well. Okay, so let's see what else we have here. Good question, Alice. Let's look at silver, SLV. All right, and by the way, if I missed anyone's questions, please just share it again. Sometimes I think I got all the questions and I missed one. All right, SLV. So this is the Silver Trust ETF. So look, silver is a follower of gold. Silver doesn't really do its own thing, right? Just like Litecoin and Ethereum, they don't do their own thing. They follow Bitcoin, okay? So I treat silver the same way. I don't like, now the silver ETF is a much better choice than the silver CFD. I don't like the silver CFD. It's too big, and with the leverage and everything, it's very easy to get yourself into trouble. Now I'm saying too big even with micro lots, because again, if you have a small account and you put on too many of them, you're like, wow, how did I wipe out half the account with the silver position? It's because the contract sizes are big, even for micro lots. So just something to keep in mind. Now, the silver ETF obviously is a stock, right? Trades like a stock, so it's different. You can control your size much better, and your leverage is much more. It's much less, much less of a problem. So you have this double bottom situation. It's trying to bounce off of that. Now, like we said, gold. Let's look at gold because gold is the leader, and let's look at XAU because that's the spot price of gold. Like it's trying to bounce, right? So there's no buy signal in gold. I would wait for the buy signal to show up in gold. Then perhaps silver would be a good candidate for a long as well. Remember, gold has to rally, silver will rally. You're at a great location, right? Just like gold, great location for silver. What's your risk on something like this? Well, your low is 20 and a half. So you're going to put your stop either at probably 1950, right? Don't put it at 20 even because everyone's going to put their stop there. So you want to give it some room. And what's your potential? If this thing runs to $22, $23, that's the middle of the range. That's not bad. So if you're buying this thing at, what's today's close, 21. So if it takes out 21 and a quarter and you're risking about $1.50, something like that, I think making $1.50 is pretty within reason. That's just going to halfway part of the range. If gold has a nice run, like theoretically it should, and this thing starts to test its highs, you're in great shape. So this is what a buying opportunity looks like. Okay, people think a buying opportunity looks like when it's breaking out here. That's not a buying opportunity. This is what one looks like. And we looked at AUTL, right? That Powell pointed out. We looked at GOLD. Those are what buying opportunities look like. So yeah, I would agree with this. This looks like a buying opportunity as well. Just remember, the thing with silver is gold has to do its thing first. If gold fakes out, this is just not going to go anywhere or go lower. It's probably not going to do its own thing. All right, so just something to keep in mind. But risk reward wise, yes, it's good. Location wise, yes, it's good. So thanks for bringing that up. So you see, there's plenty of opportunity here. You just have to look at the things that are not on everyone's radar, the things that are hated. Okay, a month and a half ago, many of those electronic vehicle stocks were not very favorable. Nikola looked like garbage. Workhorse was not looking so great, right? A bunch of them were pulling back. And I mean, FUV was at ridiculously low prices. And, month and a half goes by, everyone wants electronic vehicle stock, right? Same thing with these, same thing. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. Or a minor like VZLA. Okay, VZLA, let's take a look. VZLA. All right, so now this one looks like, oh, this must be one of those, okay, it's in a German exchange, right? This is not on the US exchange, it looks like here. If I have the right symbol here, right? Do I have the right symbol? VZLA, that's what I'm getting here. Let me know if this is the right or wrong symbol. If this is the correct symbol, this is definitely not a good place to be buying it. I don't know, I may have the wrong symbol here. Let me see, let me type in VIZLA, VIZSLA, VZLA Resources Group. Oh, so there's different exchanges here. Let's see, maybe I need to look at this. Oh, so it's OTC. There's an OTC one here in the US. You have the Toronto Stock Exchange. Let's take a look at that one. Okay, that's a different chart. Okay, so here's the thing. This is obviously not a US stock. You're at a support. You're definitely at a support. Double or even triple bottom in place here. I like that. Broad higher low situation, right? I like that too. Nice, look, this nice move in July to August. That's the move that's in play. You've corrected the move and you've touched this low at $1.37. If this is the correct stock, these are Canadian dollars, by the way. If this is the correct stock, it touched that low 3 times, okay? And it's trying to bounce off of that. It's an inexpensive stock, not bad. I like the location. It has potential to run to the high twos. That's its high. If it goes to the middle, you're looking at like the 2.25 area. The question is, what do you have to risk in something like this? If you buy this thing, when stocks are this cheap, I don't put a lot of weight on the technical signals because they just don't carry the same weight. So something like this basically you could just buy in the area, or if you want to be more conservative, you wait until it takes out this high of 176, right? That's taking out a resistance. That's a good sign. That's something that's strong. That's what it should be doing, okay? Your risk is going to be defined by the 130 low, so you figure 1.25. So you figure your stop is going to go around $1, something like that. Okay, you're looking at $1.90. Okay, well all right, so you're looking at taking out this high over here. Okay, that's still the same idea, not bad. Your risk is going to have to be defined by this low though, unless you have another higher low in place at the time. So you figure your risk is going to be defined at like $1. Okay, so if you're buying it basically around $2 and your stop is at $1, then what, your risk is $1, something like that. Okay, and so you need to make at least $1, or the potential should be at least $1. And it's almost $1. If this thing goes for a new high, if you start to push the threes, then it's worth the risk. Now, considering that back in excuse me, back in August, this thing was at 40 cents. Obviously it can do it, right? This thing went from 40 cents to almost $3 in just a couple of days. So this thing has the potential to move. Are there options on this thing, by the way? Well, it's Canadian, so I probably wouldn't be able to get the options anyway. But yeah, this might be a good options play too, okay, if you can get some cheap options on that one, especially when it's this cheap. All right, so yeah, I like it. I mean, it's got the characteristics of a long. All right, so, obviously metals, right? Gold, we looked at gold, silver was looking good there. AUTL, I'm going to remember that one. I'm going to remember that one, pal. And Barrick Gold. All right, so let's see what else we got here. Going through the chat, let's see. Okay, take an XRP trade here. Target 80 cents or so. XRP. So XRP USD. Yeah, no. So like I was talking earlier to, I think it was HS asked about this one. Someone asked about it. No, I don't like this thing at all. Potential lower high, especially if Bitcoin fakes out, right? Because remember, it's following Bitcoin. So, oh, okay. All right. So, pal, Also, don't look. You'll be what's VER? What is that? What is this? Is that the right symbol? Dollar sign? Oh, very, very, very. Oh man, yeah. You know who asked? Someone asked about this one. I think it was Michael asked about it, like a few weeks ago, and I'm like, oh yeah, leave this thing alone. Oh, yeah, I am very sad. Man, look at this thing. I think Michael was asking about it. I forget what price he was asking about it. Might have been around $16 or something. Man, yeah, you can't touch this thing now. Veritone. You can't touch it. When it goes vertical, when it goes nuts like this, remember, got all the Robinhood traders piling into this thing, or they've piled into it, and they get people caught at the top. Day traders are in this thing, right? That's why you get this drive like this, because it's all popping up on the radars. You can't touch this thing now. It's got to settle, right? It's got to settle. And when I say settle, it takes more than a few days. Look at this. Look at the July peak, right? The July peak to basically the October low, basically, right? It took 2 months for that thing to settle. 2 months. And then it started to build the structure. You see the structure in October? You see the structure? That's money flowing back in, okay? And then when it does this, all that money that was flowing in here, you better believe there's smart money in here. You better believe they're unloading it here. This is what they're waiting for, right? Perhaps people knew the news or whatever was driving this thing. Perhaps they knew, back here. Look at the change, right? Look at the structural change from like that August structure to the October structure. You see that? That's what I'm not seeing in a lot of altcoins, or was not seeing in that kind of thing. So that's what I'm talking about when money's flowing into something or not. Again, that doesn't guarantee you're going to get one of these vertical moves. But when you get the vertical move, now is not the time to buy, right? If you weren't buying back here with the smart money, don't even bother, because this is where they're distributing, right? This is where the Robinhood traders are going to get caught, stuck with this thing. So it needs to settle. It may take 2 months. I don't know, but I wouldn't wait. I wouldn't wait a couple of days and be like, okay, time to buy. It's going to take a while, okay? So thanks for bringing that one up. I need to keep that one on my radar, pal. Totally fell off my radar. Ludus. Hey, Ludus. Oh, Run. Yeah, let's take a run. Run was one of the trades of the week, and now look, this thing is starting to sag. What a pain. Okay, so let's see. This thing was the long from 59.50. This thing went almost to target one, I believe. Let me see. 69.42. Target one was 69.50. I mentioned this in the chat. It was on Friday, I think, or I think maybe it was in the webinar. In these situations, right, if you're a few cents away from target one and you happen to see it, just get out. Take the profit if you can. It's not always going to be perfect, but when it does this, it's really annoying, because that should have reached target one. It missed it by a few cents. So if you happen to see it occurring and it starts to hesitate, and you're going to make 5 cents less, who cares? Lock in the profit. Take that portion off, because that reduces your risk. Now, with that being said, Sunrun, yeah, okay, it's pulling back. So it didn't do its thing in a straight line. Well, what are we going to do? We have a potential lower high here, but the thing is, this stock is strong, right? Let's look at some levels here. So you have the supports around the 54 area. We closed today, what, at 64.08? All right, no problem. We don't really have any resistances between the 69 area and the October high, which was 82. There's really not much there. So this could develop into a higher low, but right now at this moment here, we actually have a lower high over here. That level right there can act as a support as we go back into it, right? That could be a support right there. We have to see. So if you're in this thing and you haven't locked anything in, I mean, at this point, you can consider this a sell signal, right? Because it took out a daily low, and it's red candle, right? And we closed today low again. We closed red. If you want to unload some, 1/3, because if you're in from that 59 area and you're still profitable on this thing, right? Still a few points in, it doesn't hurt to take a little off the table just to reduce risk, okay? Just to reduce risk in case this thing pulls back, because you never know with these things, right? But I would be looking for support around that 61 area. Now, hopefully tomorrow this thing could develop an inside bar and then establish this candle becomes a higher low, and it, it goes for its next leg higher, hopefully. But the chart's not going to tell us that that's coming. All we can do is look at the levels and say, all right, 61 is potentially the higher low area. Let's see if it delivers the higher low. Meanwhile, we have to still manage risk, right? That's the whole point of having targets. So, that's where you have to use some discretion. I would, take a little off the table tomorrow. If this thing opens bad and you take out the low like right away, it's like the first thing it does is take out the low. Maybe wait the first hour, let the market settle, and if it's still not really doing that good, it wouldn't be a bad idea to reduce your risk, at least by 1/3. That's all I'm saying. And then if this thing pulls all the way back to its stop and stops out, well, that happens as well. But while you have the opportunity, while this thing is still green, at least reduce risk, because this is not really what we want to be seeing. Now, who knows? Now, maybe tomorrow this thing will start out green, right? And then it'll close with an inside bar. Green, that would be great. That would be a signal, a higher low, and a new buy signal possibly, and maybe the next leg higher. So we have to see what the market delivers, okay? So good question. I hope that helps. Okay, I think I have everyone's questions here. I got XRP, I talked about Sunrun. Who asked me about Sunrun? How come, where did it go? Oh yeah, okay, Ludus, got you. Okay, Sunrun. All right, cool. So I think I answered everyone's questions, and I've been talking too long, haven't I? Let's see, where am I in time? Oh, 1:15. Okay, I haven't reached the 2 hours yet, so I'm still good. All right, so if I've answered everyone's questions, that's good. Let me know if there are any other questions before I sign off. Again, so I'll leave you. Let's just kind of take one more look at Bitcoin here. This thing is closing somewhat strong, I have to say, right? This thing closes in a few hours, and it's trying to close strong. So, that it could try one more. It may try here for that 20K again. Now, just keep in mind, if it can't clear this area, that's going to be a potential fake out. So watch out for that. If it clears the area, if it just if the next bar opens and it just clears the high and just closes strong, it's cleared the area. That means momentum is strong. It's probably going to go higher at that point. Okay. Again, not a reason to buy. I just showed you what a couple of buying opportunities look like, right? This definitely doesn't look like one of those, does it? So that's why, we don't even bother with this. That's for retail traders. We'll wait for our buying opportunity, and we'll get a better probability. It will come. They always come. All right. So I'll leave you with that. If you have any other questions, come to our free chat room. We have a free chat room. Some people here are in the free chat room. We may not answer the question right away, but we do get to it. Great place to ask questions. And if you're new to Greenbridge Investing, please make sure that you register for the channel here. Make sure you like the video if you liked it. I see a few likes, so I guess someone likes it. That's good. And check out our website, greenbridgeinvesting.com. We have swing trade signals by text, by email, portfolio management ideas, and a chat room, which many people here participate in. So there's a lot of great information in there each day. And also, we are going to raise our prices this coming month, December, like this week probably. And your chance to get our low prices that we have right now are still available. Once you lock those in, they don't change. Okay, so you could start out with a 7-day free trial, see if you like it, and if so, great. If not, that's okay too. And but if you sign up after that, the new prices will go into effect, and that's it. Anyone that locks those in, they will get to renew at those prices. Also, our monthly membership, we're no longer going to offer that. If you lock in the monthly membership now, you get to keep that, and you can continue to renew that monthly membership until you cancel. Okay, but it will no longer be available after that. All right, cool. All right, Sean, hey, thanks. And everyone, I want to thank you all for your great questions, for your participation. I really appreciate it. Thank you again for taking the time with me here today. So join me next time, right? Also, tomorrow is our podcast, Talking Markets with Mark and Andrew. And we'll cover some different topics as well. And it's Trade of the Week day, okay? As you can see how our Trade of the Weeks, a lot of them do pretty well. Not all of them, right? Where was our most recent one? How's BLI doing? Is that thing in play yet? Let me see. This was our most recent Trade of the Week, right? I sent this one out the Wednesday before. Today's high is 84. So this thing's in play. The buy stop was 83.80, okay? And today's high was 84. It opened at 83.80. Oh, nice. This is in play. Okay, BLI, it was the previous trade of the week, and it is in play today. This just keep in mind, this pulled back first, right? And the stock was, the position was not in play the day after I sent this out. See, so it took till today. Yesterday's high was 82.21, and again, the buy stop was 83.80. That's why we used the buy stop. So we didn't have to get caught up in this nonsense here, and now we're in it, right? And we're off of this higher low. Nice. So let's see if this thing can, go to target one at 86.80. Anyway, that was the previous trade of the week. Tomorrow we will issue a new one. All right, so that's for free members. Everyone gets that in your email. So come to the Talking Market Show, see what we come up with, and we'll go from there. All right, everyone, thank you again for listening, and I will see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.